Okay, it's 19:03. I'll call the meeting to order. This being the regular meeting of council of January 24th, 2017. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thanks. And a second. Any changes? Fred?
Under new business, 12A, can I put an appointment of Eileen to the Emergency Steering Committee? We haven't formalized that yet.
Yeah.
Sorry, which item was that?
12. Emergency Steering Committee. Okay, got it. How does this actually work? I mean, by strict Robert's rules, unless there's 100% consensus, you can't add an item to the agenda nor propose a motion, right? Because there's supposed to be notice of motion. So, I mean, so if somebody objected, it would not be on the agenda.
I would probably just, if that happened, go get my Robert's rules.
That's a good answer.
If there's if there's an objection to adding something to the agenda, then it's best to discuss what's the objection and what's the reason for it, and then if it's a good
academic
reason, then we can put it up.
You don't need Robert's rules unless you have something that's unsolvable or undecidable.
And I was asked a question that I'd just like to ask council, so wherever that could go under new business.
Okay, we'll just call it Eileen's question.
Okay.
Okay, so with those, oh, no, more.
And add one
You missed our
ground,
rookie prank earlier today, Jim.
add one ground for
No,
closing the meeting under 91E, which
Sorry?
is
E is
acquisition, disposition of land, etc.
ACQ, acquisition of land. Let's just call it disposition of land, yeah. Display land. Okay, that's it?
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Right, as amended, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. And approval of, no, sorry. Participation, delegations, there being none, we'll move to approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 10th. Can I have a motion and a second? Any issues? I actually had none. Anybody else?
Just when we change something under 5, we added the word annual and it replaced. I'm just wondering whether in the future we could have the new wording so that we can see what it actually says.
Yes.
Well, the new wording would be in the minutes of December 20th, which would be amended as per this
The
motion.
December 20th minutes would reflect this change.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hence be signed as such. Yep.
Okay,
But
okay.
we could, your point being that if we're going to say...
Then you'd have to dig up the last minutes and check it. It would be easier to see if it was, I don't know,
So
if
that it
everyone
now-
else
so that it now reads-
says what it should read, yes.
Da-da-da-da.
That would be easier for me. I don't know if other people
Yeah,
are.
no, that's fine. Okay.
Okay. Good, so there's a motion on the table. All in favor of approval and opposed, that carries. And business arising.
The one that Eileen asked has been answered on the false alarms.
Yes,
Asked when? What?
Charged fees for false alarms, which were emailed out today, I think.
Okay, was
Yes.
that was business
It
arising
was-
from?
couple
Six on page
of
4
minutes
of
ago.
70.
I'm going to report
And I
back to
think-
council on false alarm fees, so I sent out
An
an
email.
explanation as
That's right.
to why those have been dropped from the fee bylaw.
Okay,
And
so, yeah,
that's the last of the carry forwards.
I know I ask this every time. How do we know what is open business?
You're hoping for a different answer?
No, I don't remember the answer. There was a thing you were going to send, right? A task list or a
So-
to-do list or a punch
Yeah,
list.
yeah,
Right?
so Shauna sent that out,
Yes.
and you and I had that prior to our meeting when we met for lunch.
Yes, and a
Um,
good lunch it was.
So that was how we were going to deal with matters that, that were on that.
But should they not be part of the minutes?
Well, it's not part of the minutes.
It's business arising.
It's not really business arising.
I want to know, what's the business arising? And other than going through the minutes line by line by line to check if everything's been done, which is what we're going to have to do now, right?
I'll
Think it through.
I'll revisit
Mr. Roberts
that. I'll
rules.
revisit the fuel that we prepared previously. The methodology, though, that was proposed was that we would create a fuel after follow-up action list after each council meeting, would send that out to all of council, well in advance of you and I meeting on the following Tuesday, and we would follow up on things at that point. Anything that's, I guess, if you want to follow up, if you want to follow it up at the next meeting.
How does the public know that it's been addressed? Because it comes out of discussion, right, if they were to listen.
Well, I guess, yeah, if you want the public to follow up on and make sure that you wrote that letter that you were going to write to so-and-so regarding such and such,
Yeah.
then we would have to do something like that. It's a question of to what level of degree of oversight we know.
Well, whatever is in the minutes,
It does.
if it was minuted.
It does appear to be useless in a lot of respects in where it sits all the time. That's all. It's just like, why isn't it at the bottom line, bottom of the minutes, at the very back bottom, so that nobody sees it until they need it? Like, why is it in the middle right at the beginning? Because we don't know at this point. If we're going through things in order, business arising out of the minutes, we have no idea what's arising out of the minutes. We haven't seen them yet. We're not.
No, these
we haven't
minutes,
done
the
them.
previous
Yeah.
meetings.
You would have had these minutes since Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's not the current minutes, it's the previous meetings minutes. Business arising from the minutes that we just approved.
Yeah, so it's these minutes that you would have reviewed over the weekend prior to tonight.
Yeah.
If there was any issues with respect to matters which you wanted to bring up at this meeting to talk about, whether it's a follow-up matter or whether it's, hey, I was talking to so-and-so and something else, and they said we should do this.
Okay.
That
Fair
kind
enough.
of thing.
So if everybody's happy with that,
idea is.
so from our review of the minutes of the previous meeting, if something comes up, you better have a note and either add it to the agenda or bring it up under unfinished business.
Words water under the bridge.
Or business, what's the difference between
Exactly.
unfinished business and business arising from the minutes?
Unfinished business would be matters which are ongoing from previous
Okay, fine.
agendas.
After all that, under 6, I have one item that the mayor will bring a report to the next meeting regarding the area OCP. The mayor is not going to bring that report, and he apologizes because he had other things to do. So we'll have to carry that one over.
To item 6.
So what happens then?
I don't know.
Under item 6, but item 7 on the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So since
I
you
don't-
won't remember this, you're gonna rat yourself out?
Well, exactly. So now in the next minutes, you will write it in the
It's on the
minutes.
follow-up action list that will again be sent out saying,
Oh, it is.
again,
Just 5
well,
minutes, I'm
yeah,
not
it will be,
getting back, you know.
as soon as this meeting's over, and tomorrow Shauna will pull up, or prepare a new follow-up action list, which will be sent out, and you and I will have a discussion next week about where you're at with that OCP review.
Fine. I'm just concerned that stuff is going to fall between the cracks. And
Okay, well, let's try this, and if we need to change the methodology so that we don't,
right now, I'm relying on my memory.
And I'll set my clock for 2 weeks from now when Carl asks the same question,
Yeah.
which will be,
At least I preface it by saying, I know I ask this question every time. But maybe it's because I'm not satisfied. I still,
Okay.
other than relying on my memory, which is fallible,
okay.
what's the
We'll-
method?
we'll-
I wasn't clear on what item I was carrying forward.
7, the last one.
ID 122.
Thank you.
So, moving on to the next item on the agenda, unfinished business, IRRs. So let's see if we can knock off a few of these. Are there any new ones, Peter? Yes, there are.
I think so.
Okay, I'll kick it off, starting with 114, top request for council. Drones, we heard from Nye in the strategy committee that it is what it is.
The individual who we were put in touch with went up to the intakes today. We're waiting for an estimate for a pulley camera system.
So nothing to do with drones, in fact.
It is nothing to do with drones. We would not be able to obtain a license to fly drones.
What about him
without line
doing
of
it for
sight.
us, for money?
That is on the table. We're discussing it with him, and we'll
Okay.
have costs for that.
Okay, so let's just leave that one where it is.
I thought that he couldn't do it either because it wasn't line of sight.
Because he wasn't what?
He has
On line of
he
sight.
Line
has
of
the
sight.
ability to do line without line of sight if he sees the. So if we take him up to the intake and he knows the road and he knows the conditions, he can do a flight. He is authorized to do that.
Without filing a flight plan, as I understand. He's got a special.
without- yeah, absolutely, because he's the specialist.
I thought he didn't want to do non-line of sight.
No, he will do non-line of sight after he's gone up to the site.
Okay.
He needs to go up once to take a look at the
Okay.
site to see what he's dealing with.
Right.
Then he can do non-line of sight. So
Okay.
the option to use him is available.
Okay. Okay, so let's leave that one where it is. Why? Because that may be the cheapest option of all. If we pay him, it's a lot cheaper than a helicopter, obviously, and a lot cheaper than a pulley system or remotely powered, remote data download.
I would caution
cameras.
that weather is a factor. During the fog, he wasn't willing to put his drones up. So
Yeah, may not be a viable solution. I mean, ultimately, all we're trying to do is get earlier look at damage. Speaking of which, have you gone up there now?
correct, we have gone up there. We have cleared out the intake. It's just a backlog, a debris slide that's come down.
Big, small logs?
Very small.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still enough to tug the
Just
thing.
it fills enough. It fills behind the weir.
Well, hopefully the new system, which is going in when? This summer.
This summer, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, moving on. Signage changes. I almost fell off my bicycle, not that I have a bicycle, when I saw the signage changes had been affected.
Said some of these things have been addressed.
Some have, correct. Others are in the works. So staff right now dedicate Fridays for CSRs. Requests like this and other requests from the general public are attended to on Fridays, outside of our planned work week.
Fine.
The watershed signage, I have feelers out to Metro and other municipalities that have watersheds, talking about what the legal requirements are, what we can put up, what wording is best.
Apropos of that, and not on the request that I made last January, that is putting use at your own risk signage on our hiking trails. What are we thinking about that? That's long overdue, obviously, given recent situation. Not so recent now, 2 year ago situation.
I would defer to the CA on that.
We were recommended to do that by our insurers 2 years ago, even before the death on our hiking trail.
I'll review that.
Yeah, I think the implication was it must indicate it maintained by volunteers, not official, despite starting within the village, not under government regulation. Something, but you need to look at that, and that's just an accident waiting to happen. Okay, so I'm happy there. You can take it off the list if you want, because at least it's in the hopper now. That's all I needed to know. Correspondence, I would suggest we can take this one off the list as well, because we're seeing a correspondence policy today. So I'll just assume that it's going to meet everything we ever thought of and more. So I'm happy to take 119 off. Please report why no IPGs have been applied for. I think we had that report last time.
No, we deferred it until,
Until was back.
yeah, we can both speak to it. Did you want to start or?
Sure. So we had prepared an IPG for the Bayview Road.
Flume.
The Bayview Flume, the road design. We submitted it for review, and
We submitted it for review, and they came back, gave us some good feedback, and then I asked the details of, it's a bit misleading, they have intakes all year, but they only make a decision twice a year, and you can't start the work until you've been approved for the grant, and it's gonna be 9 months. So we
What?
needed to start the work
Yeah.
right away.
Right.
So you
So-
can,
well, that's
they
the
only
answer.
make decisions twice a year, so to address that, it's one of those things that'll be challenging, but as we're doing our 5-year plan now, if we see projects that we think, we might do this in 2018, then we can put something in
Very
in
long plan
2017,
projects.
but
But certainly not, yeah.
yeah,
not
it was
actionable
kind of
right
a-
away or in that year.
yeah. So basically, the good news was Bayview qualified, the bad news was. we
Well, I
couldn't
knew
wait
that.
9
I
months
mean,
for a
that's yeah. I
decision.
mean,
Yeah.
that was my first fight. For the last 2 years, I've been told that Bayview would not qualify. But okay, so we're making progress there. So I'm fine with taking this
It'll
one off as
always
well.
be a remote possibility, we'll always keep it in mind, but it's not quite as.
Yeah, but it's
a
good money, right?
challenge. Yeah,
It's
10,000.
Yeah, it's 10,000 for a 5,000 match from us. That's not bad.
So that's in your diary, Pam? For-
Yes, like
okay.
basically, we're
So
gonna look
that-
at it
that
when we
can
do the
go off.
5-year plan.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking
But
that off.
we've answered
Peter.
the questions why they haven't been applied for, it's because unfortunately it's a little more challenging than originally.
Can we
thought.
apply, I'm not sure what the exact grants are for, but can we apply for things that we're deferring until 2018, like the beach
Yes.
and things like that?
It's
They
for
qualify?
planning, design, that sort of stuff, for asset management type
Okay,
work. There's
okay.
a list of criteria,
Okay,
so, and it's quite broad.
Yeah. If we can get the timing right. So the answer to the question is timing.
It's
Yeah.
the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like I say, it's misleading, they say you can put your application in at any time,
Mm, yeah, I know.
but they only look at them twice a year.
So the purpose of having this on there is,
I think we've answered the
A
question.
reminder?
Do you hear,
Yeah.
do you hear the answer?
yeah.
It's answered, yeah.
Because for 2 years I've been going on about IPGs that we were qualified for, but I never saw
Haven't applied for
any.
them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm satisfied there. Thank you very much. That's great. Next, mapping. So yes, you're right that I requested 1,200, but that was more for upgrades to this map, just to remind us if we
Yes.
needed upgrades, we needed to budget. The 400 is
The
a separate
LiDAR,
request.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which we now have in the budget, and then we're also addressing the mapping as part of the asset management plan in the budgets.
Different altogether. So we can take that one off as well because it's budgeted. Peter, you look somewhere between perplexed and chagrined.
Yeah, it's not moved, it's not approved, it's just moved to the budget
Yeah,
process.
no, it's come off this list.
Yeah, yeah.
Remembrance J quilt. Staff recommendation on where to hang it. I know well enough to know not to make these choices unilaterally. Above the fireplace. How framed? Because there's volleyballs and stuff flying around.
I don't know.
Okay.
Volleyball's flying around everywhere, but everywhere in the middle for sure.
Yeah, well, certainly in the middle. Yeah.
Well, it would have to be.
The back end where the kids are shooting hoops, that's a no.
what about in the meeting rooms in the library? Is there a wall?
Yeah, I mean, if they start getting used, yeah.
They are being used.
Yeah, less liable to damage, obviously.
Only place that's safe, the kitchen's not really an option.
Well, above the
Oh, that's
couch.
about the couch. Oh.
You could put it in there. You could put that in there as a holding pattern for now.
Be seen by more people than in the meeting
Actually,
rooms.
more than you think, really.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
it's a defensible position not to put it in public view in the thing, because that gym is very well used.
Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, some of my less accurate pals blew the clock to pieces the other night, so, and
Oh,
that's
wonderful.
right beside the door.
Okay, well, so let's nods around the table on that one. Above the couch in the kitchen with a suitable plaque.
Yep.
Made by Sue Foreshore for Remembrance Day 2016 and donated to the village. Like in an art gallery, not just stuck there. This is by my 6-year-old son, this is by Picasso.
Is there a better word than made by?
I don't know, ask Sue.
Created by.
Get Trudy involved on the wording on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you should get your picture taken with it, and her.
And budget
Well, we'll need a budget.
for the plaque?
Yeah, shouldn't be much.
I
Couple hundred.
have no idea what the plaques cost.
$250.
And out of which
I put forward
budget?
$250.
Second.
We've come out of council budget, and they have
It's
room in
council.
there for
It-
council
There should be
events.
room.
Take it out of our telecommunications.
Maybe some
Or
instructions
Carl's
on.
expense budget too, because he won't be.
That would work.
I'm not going to multiple meetings. Saved us. I've been invited to
Think about that.
Mayor's Caucus meeting in Oak Bay, which I declined.
And then maybe if we're consulting about the wording, consulting about the best way to hang it. Because I imagine we won't hang it with thumbtacks. Like, I don't know there's a proper way to hang that quilt, I think, without piercing the fabric.
I
You can
don't
use
know
a
whether you
drill and
can-
big thick screws, light screws.
Robbie screws, yeah. Brass though.
Brass?
Oh, yes.
Galvanized?
Okay, I'll vote.
We should ask.
No, and then not the plaque, the quilt.
Eileen,
Grass
nothing
screws
on
are
that.
useless
Just have
things.
coffee
Don't
with
use
Trudy
them.
and figure it out.
Yeah, this is your
We'll
department.
we'll take
I mean,
a,
it's
we'll
a
take a look
huge
at the
respect
quilt
for the
and-
volunteer and the coordinators.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
I mean, how you typically see quilts hung with rings on a pole, I don't like it. It needs to be a little more.
Or do you want me to do that on
Heirloomy
the,
than that.
the
It's without
historical
piercing the
sock on
fabric, that was
Tuesday?
all, we have to do it some way without piercing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the
Sure.
quilt and see what we can come up
If
with.
she go, okay, why don't I try first on Tuesday then?
I want to. I mean, that's it's heirloom quality. It's good stuff. So it needs to be treated properly, and let's get it where people can see it. Okay, enough on that. But it's not going to be done, so that needs to stay on the list, please. And then leaving metro boundary. Request metro to install signage at northern boundary. Please provide rationale. I said I would provide the rationale for this, so that taxpayers understand who metro is when they see the line item on their tax bill, so that officials entering and leaving the different regional districts understand the jurisdiction for water management, wildfire management, fire, so that people understand that our fire department is going actually out of the regional district to fight fires. The same reason that anybody has put up signs in the rest of the province entering regional district and leaving regional district. For example, Kootenays, you name it. We don't have one. And I would like people to understand, at least on this boundary, there's only two road boundaries, ours and the one in Mission.
Peter?
And I'm sure you can think of 5 other good CO type reasons. But it's more a sort of an tax basis understanding.
So it's 2 signs, it's $1,000.
No, Metro must do it.
Metro's gonna do it.
Yeah, it's just a
from
request.
Metro.
It's just a request. No, we're not going to do it. I'd probably get another letter.
Is that right where the Squamish Forestry District?
No, nowhere near.
Starts.
No, it's 100 meters north of Brunswick Beach exit.
Yeah.
Just where the highway
Oh.
changes, yeah. Just where the highway changes.
Peter, are you fine with that? If you want.
I guess
it's-
I'm also maybe I'm just I can write the letter to what's her name, the CAO of Metro. But maybe it'd be better.
Oh,
can-
no, we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just leave it for you for execution then.
Should I send you a few more written
Sure.
rationales because I have them?
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
I'll send those out. Okay, so leave that on the list. Okay, thanks for your forbearance, colleagues. Do we want to just check through some of these other ones and see if there's anything we need to... I mean, all these resolutions
Those are all
have been made,
resolutions they made. This is done.
but some of them should be
Some of them
put to
shouldn't be
bed.
on here
Yeah.
anymore.
But
Some
you
of
said
them-
that last time.
Some of them are moot or dealt with already.
I thought we dealt with a lot of
I
these.
thought you were gonna clean this up, Peter.
Well, some of them require just a quick, like, Nye, were you gonna speak to the first one and just
Yeah,
confirm
so
that
Ocean
that's
View
by
Creek,
the by?
I thought we talked about that, but I couldn't find any record of our discussion.
We definitely talked about it. The answer was it can't be done, and we said park it,
Yeah.
archive it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did not have sufficient evidence to appease the CAO, hence it remained on the list.
Yeah, fair enough. I remember the discussion. Maybe it was in infrastructure committee actually.
Anyways,
I
next
wasn't
one.
there, I know it.
But seeing as I'm the requester, can I authorize its
Yeah.
archiving? Good.
Sophie changes,
I think you did those.
And we've did those, what it was, just to remind everyone, which was a good idea, adding a description of the suppliers, we say the supplier
Yeah.
name, but we've just done that internally, we of course don't do it to the Sophie we submit, but we do it for the one that we should.
For the annual
cancel.
report.
Yes. and
Yeah,
one
so
in
that
the
people
annual
know who ABC company is, or that's a law
report.
firm.
Yeah, and that's just our standard practice now to.
Okay, so that can also be archived.
highway water tank liaise with Arts Council, which we commenced, but I'm
We
not
have
sure
yet
what
to
it
hear
is.
back from them. The last I heard was that they were looking at some sort of contest-like, and they were talking to Vancouver, who had done a similar project. However, with the Clean Water Wastewater Fund grants that we've applied for, it may be moot if we get funding. meaning that we may replace highway tank with a brand new tank.
We'll still need some kind of decoration though.
If it's a steel bolted tank,
Soup can, like I've always said.
absolutely, Campbell's.
Yeah, Campbell's. You've seen the same. Okay, fine. So it's clearly on some sort of work plan. Does it need to remain here, or can it be parked? I mean, it hasn't
It's
been
parked right here. It's,
Yeah.
This is where it should be.
No, but I don't want to be talking about it again next time
Well,
around.
then we'll skip over it next time.
Well, you're gonna be talking about it again.
Yeah. Okay. So this one.
It's gotta
It's
come
not
up as-
resolved. So
The other two. So what's going to happen to the two above it?
well, the one right above it is going to go on completed, on the completed,
completed,
list.
okay, yeah.
That's the next section. And the first one will go on the preempted at the back
Very
because you have preempted it.
Okay, fine. Anti-encroachment campaign. I think the answer is there already.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of a bigger project. I
Mhm.
think you can move that to preempted.
I'd rather just sit there.
Fine. Water shortage plan. We still don't have one. We made one up. The infrastructure committee made one up for 2016. It seemed to work relatively well. We didn't do the sirens thing. You remember all this, Fred? We didn't do a lot of the things that the plan called for. But as it turns out, we wouldn't have needed it anyway. But that's not to say we're not going to have another one. And this time, I'd like to have a plan on the shelf ready, rather than making it up on an emergency basis, seeing if the siren can be heard, type of thing.
Shouldn't this go off and go right to the
I think it can
IC
be-
for execution to do a plan?
I don't know.
That was saying it was going to be referred to the emergency plan.
Correct, yeah, that was the original intent.
Well, so that was the resolution. Let's just keep it where it is.
Okay.
Okay,
Next one.
tabled until fall, so we'll move straight on. Move Bear Smart sign.
No, next one's clean air.
Yeah, but we can tabled until fall.
Oh, okay.
Bear Smart sign, last discussion with Michael was he was not in favor of moving it to the store. We now have a new owner. The intent is to approach the new owner
Good thinking.
and request,
I think that's probably the best location for it, right? Where it used to be at the store.
yeah,
As
that's where
opposed
the
to
Bear
here.
committee wants it.
Yeah, that may be where they want it, but maybe that's not feasible. What about on the walkway here, just up to the office, on that natural stone wall?
It could go there. Again, we've talked about it with the Bear Smart committee, and they're really they like the idea. They have memories of people, tourists, taking pictures of that sign.
Yeah,
and
that's
so-
clearly the better place for it.
Yeah.
Just FYI, not anything to do with this. The Conservation Officer Service, Conservation Service Officer, I never remember which order it is, and the Bear Smart Committee and I have a 2-hour call scheduled for sometime in March. We had a 2-hour call on the success of Bear Smart in our community, and Norma and I gave some very good input, so he said. And so I think we're being used as something like a model for Bear Smart throughout the country.
If
Yeah.
that's the case, why aren't we asking for them to put a sign up along the highway in coming in and leaving? Saying,
I love
Bear
that.
Smart, I think that's,
Yeah.
because that would get more attention than any sign
Yes.
anywhere in the village.
I love it.
Are you taking notes?
It's an IRR. You have to send it in to irr@lionsbay.ca.
I've already noted it.
Oh, so somehow you have a.
Who got the email address on that?
I have to jump through hoops, but maybe that's because I issued about
Just
5,000.
Make a note to bring it up at the meeting.
On Thursday.
You said it.
I'll do whatever I have to. Okay, yeah, good suggestion, Jim. Okay, so that's fine where it is. Procedure bylaw.
Yeah. At some point, I will.
Okay.
And the next ones are redundant. And office hours, we'll get back to you on that. I think we're fine with the way it is at the moment.
Well, so staff will bring a report to council by the first week of June. That was June 2016, regarding office hours of operation. I think you did. And I think
We talked about it a couple of times.
we did,
but,
and I think we're fine with how it is.
So is it gonna stay there? or
No, I
we're
think we
moving
can
it?
move that to complete.
Let's get
I
it
think
out of
that's
there.
complete. I have no interest in this answer myself.
Yeah, I think we saw
We'll
it.
let you know if anything changes.
Well, move it to complete.
Okay, yeah,
complete.
completed.
No,
for
to
now.
get it off the list, otherwise
Get it off the
they,
list, that's right.
Okay, Councillor Watterson is no longer with us.
well, that doesn't matter. Council is
No,
a
it
continuing
goes
body.
over.
Requested a policy be drafted regarding volunteer recognition. Willing to do Okay, so really this is now your department,
Yes, okay.
Eileen.
And on this note, we did make a note last year, there is an official volunteer week, and I think just for circumstances, it was almost too late by the time we realized it was volunteer week to do anything about it. So I have increased the council budget slightly. There's a line called volunteer recognition, and I bumped it up a bit to $1,000, because I think the intent of council last year was to somehow, during that week, recognize the volunteers.
With more than just a banner over the highway.
Yeah, like I know at West Vancouver, they do a slightly larger thing. They're a larger municipality, but having like an open house, just, something in the
I bet you they have the
hall
same number of volunteers
where,
we do.
Volunteers in this community are extremely important.
Yes, I like
Always have been.
volunteers.
Always
No, they
have been.
have.
They drive the community.
Yeah.
So it's a very significant item. If we do
That's
it,
right.
it's gotta be.
So let's leave that where it is. Eileen, it's your
Yes.
department.
Actually,
When is volunteer week?
Eileen, the
Need
last
to find
box on
out.
the right-hand side, if you substitute Helen's name for yours, I mean, you're starting from nowhere, so you're gonna research this stuff and
Okay.
get back to us when you do.
So this was a council resolution, so do we need a resolution to change Councillor Watterson to Councillor Wilkie?
Sure, why don't you do that?
Okay, so can I have a motion? Thanks, Ron, you did it. A second on that, thanks. Any discussion? You've got the motion sufficiently, Peter? Okay, all in favour? Opposed, that carries. Okay, good, so we'll move on to the next one. Policy plan be drafted regarding communications.
It's on my work plan.
Good. So leave it where it is. 60-inch TV. Hey, this was on here already. Defer to 2017 budget process. Great.
And it worked?
Which we did.
I believe we talked, although we
that's-
didn't talk about the whiteboard, it was just the 60-inch TV.
Nye doesn't want it because he thinks that the council chamber should be a holy of holies.
As
And
they
he doesn't
should.
think a whiteboard is he's wrong, but that's...
Also, I think it was also a matter of wall space.
Why do we want a 60-inch TV in council chambers?
Oh, you missed that
Oh, you
discussion.
missed
Too
that.
bad. Sorry.
Well, there you
Too
go.
bad, we're not going
It's the
over that again.
whiteboard.
Fine.
Okay, so I think you can move that to
So-
completed.
Complete, that's in the
It's
budget.
in the budget. Correspondence policy. Hey, this is doubled up.
Completed,
You
yeah.
got it? Take it. So you're moving it to completed, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Personal notification system.
That's in the
that was
budget?
Discussed.
Yeah,
It's,
so take it out.
Budget process, yeah, okay.
You notice all these things are not just happening on a whim, right? CFO to review mayor's suggestion of using property tax software from SoftTrack software to... That's long dead.
Well, we did it. We had a conversation
Yeah.
one-on-one, and I also emailed them. There was just a misunderstanding. They didn't think we had the ability to download the BC assessment data into our Maze software, into our software, and we
Yeah,
did.
this
and
is long gone.
I've emailed them to let them know.
So we did that,
It's
so it
done.
can go to completed rather than preempted.
Okay.
Staff to review potential grants from Metro and FCM regarding hydrology study with UBC. I think what we should do there is leave it with me.
Call it IC to review.
I think it's more sort of at Metro, federal, MP, MLA type level at this stage.
There is an FCM green fund grant.
Green
for
Municipal
looking
Fund, yeah.
at Climate change, specific climate change issues.
Maybe I thought we were getting to the point where we actually now need to actually review what grants are available and apply. The MOU is almost done. You know, the first 90% was easy. It's the second 10% is hard, and so they're going through their process. Let's just leave it where it is as worded, and I think maybe once we have the MOU, we can then use that as the bait. I don't know what the word is to start asking for grants, because it's going to, in many cases, be unique.
Bait and switch.
The leverage.
No, never switch, but bait. So leave it where it is.
Okay.
The rest, I'm okay with moving that out of here into completed. Pam and I still, Pam still owes me some
Oh.
information.
Tim?
When
Yes, I
the
just
2000
wanted some clarification. We'll add the 2017 data, but we don't get the revised roll until late March.
That's fine.
So late
Sorry.
March, we'll just, and then it'll
Yep.
just be an annual thing. When we get it, we'll update it and we'll send it to you.
Yep.
If that's okay.
I'm happy to move it out of here into
Okay.
completed. Festive lights. I see we have some festive lights. We've got some sort of old school Kmart style, big bulb, coloured lights. One string draped on a tree just here. It's quite what I had in mind, but
The lights came down the other day.
Yeah, yeah.
oh, they were there yesterday.
So one got left,
Oh.
one got mistaken.
It's a light.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then that's there, yeah, definitely.
I saw
missed-
Don taking them down out front.
Yeah, yeah, we probably missed that one.
Anyway, that's not what I had in mind with Christmas tree lights. I,
When we're landscaping, maybe we could keep that in mind too, so that it,
22.5 grand.
well, this is all the sort of thing in the landscaping plan that I had in mind, exactly that. So,
Budget.
So refer to budget process.
Yeah.
And specifically that particular item that was
and maybe,
discussed earlier today.
I mean, I don't know if you've driven through Squamish lately, you know where the outdoor center, adventure center is? There's some small trees, like 8 feet high, wrapped in lights, and looks great. 3 of them.
No, nobody's gonna see that here if you're on the highway, but does it matter?
No, it's for residents.
Okay.
Get the highway. The highway's got nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Although, if the landscape plan is complete, maybe the landscape says, get rid of all these trees and bushes in front of the hall, uplight the hall and pick a tree for, maybe we'll have to make an artificial tree because none of the trees here are really suitable for wrapping because they're all evergreens. A cactus.
Keep going.
I'm fine with moving that one out as well, Peter.
Okay.
the
Because-
Harvey Creek.
No, the 113, because it's now in the process, it's now in the budget, it's gonna be in the landscaping plan.
Yes, it is.
I hope.
Well, why don't we just leave it here until it's
Okay,
in the
thank you.
landscaping
Yes,
plan?
maybe so. Please find and mount the Harvey Creek trestle sign. Staff to find sign.
Still working
You're
on the
still
staff
working on
defined
finding.
sign part. Not in the trailer, by the fire.
Well, there's, whoever did it still works here. Nobody's changed, so all we have to do is say, did you move it?
Excuse me, I've
No.
never seen it. I believe it went missing
But
prior
then you
to my
didn't-
employment with the village.
No, you
Lions
didn't move,
Bay
no,
in
it went
9.
missing in the last 9 months.
The 3 of us don't even know what it looks like.
No, we don't know what it looks
Well, that's
like.
because you're not observant.
We're getting the
because-
staff
No,
to
it wasn't
describe it, and then we
here
go
when I
look for it.
started.
Is it made out of wood?
Wasn't there when I
I'm
started.
looking where it used to be.
It was right there. I
Right
can see it.
there.
I can-
Yeah,
I
can
think
see
there's
it
a
here
couple
too.
more trailers to look in
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Secan.
Oh, yeah.
We're actively looking,
Right.
but
Yeah.
so
Well,
far
so
unsuccessful.
There's one more trailer to look in.
Okay.
Right. Carl, down to the
Let's look
website
at the
next
website.
one.
Website.
Yeah, we're making progress.
Well, so yeah, I hear that a lot. I note that many, if not half, of the links on the current website are broken or have no content behind them or go nowhere or are ancient, referring to things that
Trying
happened.
to spend
So,
some time
it's
working
dead.
on,
So-
working on the steps that are required in order to get ready to upload and to move, to migrate stuff, OCRing documents, especially older documents, preparing for that, so.
So it is happening.
It is,
Yeah, I
yes.
just finished doing all the OCR work last week.
Okay, and is there going to be any more review before it goes live? Because we've had one very basic review where it was Latin.
Once we
you know.
get some stuff up there, then we will be doing some further tweaks, so you'll have an opportunity to have a look, and I know what your requests will be for tweaks, and I've already asked for those tweaks, and the response was to wait until we get some stuff on there so we can see what it looks like.
Fair enough. All I know is that the current website is dead.
Mhm.
Technically.
No argument.
Okay, good. So if with that response, I'm fine with taking that one off as well.
Well, it's still being worked on. I
Okay,
think it
fine.
should just live where it is.
Well, you reported on the website progress, so you did. So it's done. I'll have another request if I'm come March, we still don't have a website. So do with it what you want. Do we have a recommendation input? That's my thing. So leave it where it is. Okay, I think that's probably enough, right? We're not going to double check that you've.
No, we're not going to double check the completeds or the preempteds, but they were there in case there was anything you wanted to ask.
What,
Yeah.
when did they disappear?
Never.
We haven't experienced that yet, so, we might get to a point where we go, okay, we'll archive all the 2016s,
Yeah.
and we'll just have 2017s.
It's a good record
So
of where.
It's an evolving process, we're learning what we want to do with it
Yes.
and making changes. If you have recommendations,
Well,
put it in my
I have one recommendation. Could these go a lot smaller if they're completed? We don't need pages and pages of.
We normally just
completed.
have the requests for council
Yeah.
and the resolutions. We don't even have the resolutions, but we added the completed and the preempteds at the
My
request
request.
of the mayor.
Oh, could we do this like quarterly or
Yes.
semi-annually or
I
something?
think it needs a
to complete
procedure
it?
bylaw amendment, but all right.
Well, that's an IRR.
Oh, yeah, okay, thanks, okay. But can you put it down under Wilkie, not under Burr?
And he completes the circle.
Leave it under Bert.
Okay, good. That's great. Thank you again, council, for your forbearance. Somebody has to worry about the details, right?
No, actually, I like the system. It's
So do I.
easier than emails, they're all in a concise place, I have one place to go and look for it. It's
Here, here.
I think I speak on behalf of Rich and I, we just can't get enough of it.
I know Ron just about fell out of his chair when he saw 892 requests. Where did these all come from? Okay, let's move on, shall we? So, the resolution is to do all the things that we said to do.
Yeah.
Thanks. So that's the motion and a second. All in favour, opposed, that carries. Moving on to staff report, CEO request for decision, page 31. We're not going to read these in detail. Peter, will this do what you need it to do?
I believe so. I guess the question is, will it do what you want it to do? But I think we've addressed those concerns with respect to the provisions which include addition of responses to correspondence from the public. In particular, that's addressed in the electronic communication policy amendments. And then there's a similar provision in the correspondence policy. And so basically the way it sits, if you look at the electronic communication policy, it's the mayor who would be responding to something that needs a response in a timely manner, bearing in mind the existing policies and so forth of the municipality, and that then, you know, if there's any issue with what you've written or further discussion, then that can be held at the council meeting by the rest of council. In terms of if correspondence is received via email by a majority of council but not the mayor, then each of the councillors who did receive it should be forwarding it on to
What if it was
the
BCC'd
CAO.
and they don't know who else got it? Well, then they don't know, so then it wasn't a
No.
majority of council. Yeah.
I think this happens all the time. I mean, I get
Well, so for example, I just,
or you and I get one, nobody else gets one.
but that's not a majority because that's only two. But I got an email from Ian Mackey that Fred, Jim, and I got, so that's a majority of council. But it wasn't addressed to council, so I didn't send it on, and I see now that it should be, and it's correct that it should be.
Well,
didn't respond to it
it was forwarded. I was CC'd
You
on
also
it as
got it,
well,
yeah.
and it was more of a follow-up as opposed to an additional request for, you know, I mean, I didn't take it that Mr. Mackey was seeking his comments to be added to the record that I'm compiling of the public information meeting, but
It's,
we can check with him. And see
I
if
think
he
that
would
falls
like it
under
added, but-
electronic communication to a majority of council and needs to go on the record.
Well, the spirit with which it was given was communication to council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very definitely.
Yeah.
It went to,
I actually almost pressed the button and I realized because I said this is going to go in the public record, so I didn't want to flash out a response. I want to think about it some more.
he doesn't talk to us because he likes us.
So this is great, Peter. The reason, sorry, go ahead.
Just for Peter, because I am a detailed person. Page 34 of 70, the 2.0, the first arrowhead. I think that sentence needs to be reworked a little bit.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It reads confusing to me.
Yes, yeah.
And that's a very small thing. And I think that I particularly like buried in this, because I have tremendous faith in the mayor, that his, and there's a good example in the correspondence today, where he, rather than let the residents do, responds directly, and I've seen other instances, so I'm very comfortable with that.
Well, thank you for those kind words, but of course I'm only the mayor now. What about future mayors?
Well, I guess we cross that bridge
We have to
when.
cross that when it happens,
Right.
because
Right,
I
maybe change the
might
policy.
not say that.
Yeah, this is a policy,
Again.
not a bylaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of
Yeah.
On 2.0, on page 34, I just wondered if there should be some timelines in there. At work, we have like, within so many hours, within, like,
What are you
You-
thinking, Eileen?
So in the section that Ron referred to with the awkward wording, you see the words "as soon as possible." Previously, there was it was like it said something like within 3 days or something like that, and I just thought, why would you wait 3 days? So I changed it to as soon as possible, as opposed to having a specific time by which one has to get something done. So I guess my comment would be that it can work both ways.
that's
don't want-
true.
I wouldn't want to see it be used as an excuse to not respond to something or do something sooner than later.
Well, I mean, that's. I couldn't agree more, because there's 3 letters in here that one dated the 30th of December, received on the 12th of January, that I only saw today for the first time, well, in the package. And it's addressed to council. So that took 24 days to reach us.
And my concern about having it filed in the general filing system, and it could accidentally get filed in the general filing system and not. So those two should be like, do something with it and file it, not file it and do something with it.
I like the idea of not having a hard thing in there about timelines. I would prefer to see something like reasonably practicable or something like that, that makes sense, and yet if something comes up that because you can't do it, then you can't do it. There's no hard line there. It's just very easy going and easy flowing.
So I think the way that should read is that when addressed to council, be circulated to council as soon as possible, and a copy forwarded for inclusion in the next council agenda package.
This rubber stamp that we see on correspondence, it says, Village of Lions Bay, file to I/C, and there's a space for a tick, file to property file, other. Could that rubber stamp be forwarded to council on date, filed on date? Or just,
I'm not sure what stamps we have, to be honest.
yeah, well,
Let me check on some of that, but
I agree, we want this to be as soon as possible. And
point taken. So, adherence to the policy is something that I need to make sure
yeah,
happens.
it's your policy. I mean, we don't,
Whether or not you want to adopt the policy is council's problem.
do we adopt or endorse or approve? You're asking for approval.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And I have questions on the next one.
Then you can adopt. And the policy itself says adopted by council. Adoption is fine, either one.
Okay, what else do you have, Eileen?
On the 1401, just from legal, shouldn't it be shall under 1 and shall under
Sorry,
the new 6?
which paragraph you on?
Will not be deleted, shall not be deleted. I think a will is optional, but like a suggestion, and shall is a must.
Will's not optional, but it's more or less a choice of style. And actually,
Okay.
I didn't change that. That was already there. It was
You
already
started-
underlined. That was underlined for emphasis
But you
by the
said
previous
shall.
author.
It started to sound like legal legislation.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
that's, it shall for, like, I think if you look them up, there are differences.
Did it say shall here? Shall be defined as.
Well, I see these as a subset of the future communications policy, and the communications policy will state, when writing policies, the terms shall and must will be used in preference to may and will.
So we've
You know,
got
things
both.
like that.
We've got both will not at the top of the next page, paragraph 6, and we've
Yeah.
got the next paragraph shall be copied. So there's,
Right.
they're
It's-
used interchangeably
it's
throughout
careless.
this document.
I think legally
Yeah.
they're not interchangeable. I think will has, you should, no. Shall is you must, in my understanding of the two words.
I think shall is just a little more old-fashioned, but I'm happy to change everything to shall because that's what we want. And if it's,
I just wanna go paper, scissors, rock.
well, at the moment we've got will and shall in the same thing, so
We
which
can-
is it?
we
Maybe you
can-
could look it up and,
We can go with one or the other, and if you wanna go with shall, I'm fine with that.
I don't, it's up to you, it's your style, and I know you prefer will, which is a little less.
I do know that shall is one of the words that is used in certain places in certain legal pieces of legislation to say just that. They shall do it.
Yes.
It's not must. They shall do it. Period. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
But we don't need to do that. I mean, you could, will would work just as fine.
I think
Clean language.
the trend in legislation is may or must. So you must do it, or you may do it.
Except for one
Or
place
you,
that I used to work.
you must do it, or
And
you
that's
may not do
WCB.
it.
Yeah, they love that word shall.
Well, the community charter uses terms like that. They say may and must, rather than shall. And,
Yeah, well,
Yes.
legislation in general. So, I mean, really, we should probably be changing these to
yeah.
may and must.
Mm-hmm.
So
And if there's a
must,
style
must
guide-
not be deleted.
That's clear.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
clean.
that's clear.
I
That's
prefer
clear and
that.
clean. That's good.
Let's do that.
And
Yeah,
is
I'm
there
good
a
with that.
provincial style guide? Because I wouldn't mind just copying it.
I think it's more of an evolution of how legislative drafters do their craft, and there's certain professionals and
Well,
so
that's
forth. I don't know that there's a guide that you and I can turn to, but
Okay, well then we need a style guide because it's all very well you knowing it, but everybody
Hmm.
who writes stuff within the municipality needs to stick to the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to review everything for style, let alone us for style. So that's where I'm going on about the communications policy, which these would form part of.
well,
But all in good time.
the style guide is perhaps one aspect
Of
of
communications
a
policy.
communications policy.
Yeah, and format and font and all that stuff, but all in good time.
So with amendments to change all the wills and shalls to musts,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
and I've amended the previous paragraph 2.0 in the 1405 correspondence policy to say, when addressed to council, be circulated to council as soon as possible and a copy forwarded for inclusion in the next council agenda package subject to terms of this policy. With those changes, are there any other changes that or questions?
I see this, we may need to revisit this in some sort of evolutionary way, but I think it's pretty good like it is. Okay, so let's take that as a nod to ask for the motion to accept the correspondence policy as amended. Are these separate or together?
They're two separate policies.
Okay, so
actually.
can I have a second on that one? Thanks. And any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That carries. And then may I have a motion to, what are we saying? Adopt?
Let's just go with
Adopt the electronics communication policy 1401, formerly 049. Thanks. And a second. And any discussion?
As
further?
amended, I guess.
As amended, yes, sorry, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thanks, Peter. Good stuff. I will just remove this here. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, nothing for me. Council? Committees? Just,
We should have noted the CSC recommendations from this afternoon.
okay, we'll do that under the D committees. So, council committees. Peter, just tell us the resolution, please, for the minutes.
Yeah, I didn't bring my piece of paper, but it was.
Oh, the piece of paper
was
conception,
that
sorry.
the- Yeah, yeah. It was that it be recommended to council that staff be directed to prepare the water rates bylaw with a 6% increase.
Okay, thanks. So we'll take that as the motion.
Oh, and sewer, or you can do it individually, and sewer with 0% and solid waste with.
And sewer with 0% and solid waste.
You want to do three separate on that or just
How do
together?
you say, negative 6% or a 6% decrease?
Yeah, reduction in.
Reduction.
Yeah, yeah. So let's take that as one omnibus motion.
Okay.
Can I have a second? Thanks. And any discussion? We're all good with that? Eileen, you raised an eyebrow. You're fine with it?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
We
good.
did it.
Okay, so all in favour? Opposed? That carried. So staff has been directed to prepare the budget accordingly.
So
I'm not sure where we
I'm really lost. We skipped the RCMP. I don't know.
We're not
where we are.
anywhere
No,
near
we're
any
not
of the
there
solar
yet.
committees.
It's next.
So e-committees.
Oh, 6, 7,
So
We're
it's
in
around
8D.
So,
Got the resolution, the key number was 6.
yeah, so staff, you got it?
Mhm.
You consider yourself duly instructed, or what's the word we just?
Yeah.
Directed, thank you. Go ye and do ye likewise.
And I must do it.
You may do it. No, you must.
Shall.
You shall.
Must, shall.
This is a shocking.
Any other committees? Fred?
I thought I'd just give a brief report on 2 committees. IC1, we had a meeting this month. It was basically just a discussion, no big heavy duty things were dealt with. We discussed mainly the UBC hydrology MOU and the GV Water District resolution for feasibility study that we'd asked the IC to have a look at. No issues came up with it, everybody would seem to be fine about that. The only change, we've moved the February meeting to the 27th, gone back to the 4th Monday per month as per the terms of references. Maybe the calendar should be changed for that one.
Is the calendar changed, Shona?
Yeah,
And it will be?
it already is.
Okay, thanks.
And the Emergency Steering Committee, mostly discussions surrounding the emergency plan update, tweaking it. The EOC needing assessment with the gap analysis and where we're going with that. We talked about proposed emergency planner concept, and we need some research on that. And there was a bit of talk about the infrastructure evaluation tool for use with emergency planning. And that was about it.
Thanks. Do you want to do that motion to appoint Eileen to the committee here, or do you want to do it in new business like you asked? Let's do it in new business because it's on the official agenda.
Okay.
And I attended a meeting today of the, what's it called, the umbrella group, the Lions Bay Community Association, that is going to be an umbrella group for all the other groups. There were a couple of representatives from other groups, and there were 3 people there that are involved with the the Community Resources Directory. So this was the first meeting I attended, and the community umbrella group needs more work because people from the groups need to decide whether they're going to join the umbrella group. If they are, then they need to go back to their groups and say we are joining the umbrella group, and then a representative should be attending the umbrella group meetings. And
Is the intent that the umbrella group is the one that applies for municipal grant funding?
that was Louis' intent. But it might take longer to get the committee together than February the 7th. So I was suggesting
That's why I
maybe
asked.
the ones who are doing the directory could maybe apply, and this is me talking as myself, that as council, I said, as a member of council, I could not vote to give money to Louis. I would vote to possibly or not possibly give it to a group, but not a person. And so I thought that maybe they could, if we allocate money to them, that we keep it in our account until, same as ESS, we give you a bill or something for, the printing of, but we don't actually allocate the money as we do to other committees at the moment until they're really structured and they are a true committee. And have a bank account and a name.
Yeah, and a society.
Yeah.
Did we not say that we were only going to start granting municipal grants
No.
to societies?
We talked about it, but no, we haven't.
We haven't set that up yet,
We're
okay.
close to that yet. And you're right, some of the smaller groups, well, not that ESS is a smaller group, but the carolers do the same. She just submits her expense after the caroling day.
Yes.
As opposed to other groups we write a check to right at the beginning.
Yes, and I stressed I was not speaking for council, I was speaking
Yes.
for myself, but I would have a problem voting to give money to anybody to put into their own bank account, like it,
Well, the other thing we could do is you know, if the senior social circle makes the application on behalf of, you know, like whether they have projects that are just strictly related to their group, but then this is also something that they're kind of spearheading, but trying to gather together a wider group. You know, it could be allocated to the senior social circle with the acknowledgement that it's intended, well, obviously for that particular project, expenses related to that project, and that that the larger umbrella group, if it so forms, could be, you know, terms could be a little bit wider so that they can spend that money as the larger group if it gels.
yes, which we don't
But
know.
we have to work on the wording.
Yeah, there's no such group yet, so they're still
Yes.
talking about whether there should be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's their problem. It gives you more to do, unfortunately, but
We will put forward an application and
Yes.
under the name of that group, and we'll have a presentation about it. I believe Louis will speak.
We will.
And then sort of their first project is this this directory.
Directory.
Okay.
Which he's spoken to briefly about already, and then we can figure out the best way to get them the money. We have a few options.
Yes,
where were the community grants in the budget?
Yes.
Are they in there somewhere?
Yes, they're under Parks, Recreation, and
Okay.
Facilities, and I have, I put a note that I basically put in, so it's clear to anyone looking at it, I put in all the requests as requested, but I made clear it's not approved by council. So, just to be conservative, I put in what everyone asked for, which is what I did last year. So it's under Parks and Rec, and it would be under grants expense, and I think I have a note that,
does ESS go there also?
no, ESS, it's
Yes.
its own separate line,
Yes,
and
okay,
I see, yes.
that's what I thought.
Okay, good, thanks for that. Okay, I see it. Any other committee reports? No? This is more interesting than it sounds.
It's all very interesting and very educational.
Being very polite. Okay, so we'll move on to the emergency services report on page 39 from the RCMP. I don't think there's anything that needs to be said here much other than I really would like, Peter, can you just send them a one-time note and see what they say? Tell them that Strachan Point and Ocean Point are not in Lions Bay. We don't want to know, and nor should they think it's anything to do with us. I think the reason's obvious. I don't want Lions Bay. You know, we're a community under 5,000, so our policing is paid for by the province. I don't want the province to say, "Boy, there's a lot going on in Lions Bay," because we'll take responsibility within our boundaries, but nothing else. And similarly, can you please ask them to not report the Highway 99 within jurisdiction of Lions Bay? It's not in our jurisdiction, it's within our boundaries. Very subtle, maybe unnecessarily anal point, but there's no suggestion that we have jurisdiction over the highway. It shouldn't be. It won't be a problem until it's a problem.
One question I have, did anybody know they've had a change of officer in charge in Squamish?
That was the other thing. First I've heard of it.
Were we notified, or?
Jolene Percival, who's staff sergeant, took the trouble to come and introduce herself. She sent me a note. This person, who's an inspector, it's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I did know that the other guy was going, Neil Cross. He told me.
Oh,
And then he introduced this Jolene Percival, staff sergeant, which I would have thought that detachment was, she was the NCO commander. And I guess this person's been seconded in, but maybe we were going to get notified next year or something.
Okay, just curious.
You haven't heard or met
No,
this
I haven't.
Inspector Triance?
But I did, trying to remember the name of the person that I spoke with there. But I did have a chat with somebody there and talked about, be nice to see them come and do a presentation. And we did talk about that a bit, and I think we're gonna try and line it up with, I talked to Ruth about
The safety forum.
coming in and doing a presentation regarding, sorry, mental block.
Blockwatch?
Blockwatch, yes, thank you.
When did we receive the, it was at the safety forum where they came and gave us the annual report. We've seen that twice,
Yeah, we've seen them at the safety forum, but we've also had
a separate
the
meeting.
separate one.
To council,
That's-
they came and
yeah.
said, here. We didn't get that this year. I don't think we've seen that for some time.
That's been a
Well, okay. That's not downloading, that's unloading. They just don't do it. In terms of the report itself, yeah, well, I mean, I see they caught 25 speeders in 2 months, November and December. That's one every 2 days. It's about a 0.01% hit rate.
They usually do it Sunday morning,
Yeah, they need the overtime.
and they're at Covent Grove, and they
Yeah.
just keep pulling them off.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get 25 an hour, so it's not really much of an issue. Okay, and the other thing is, Peter, I don't, remind me, colleagues, we didn't used to see this times 0 times 0 times 0. But I guess it's useful to know that in that category we had no issues. So this would be a complete list of potentials? Mischief?
Probably.
No mischief? Lions Bay Village bylaw times 1? Do they come by and drop off the ticket so we can process it, or what? I tend to, you can tell I'm taking this somewhat with a pinch of salt. One bylaw infraction. They do have our bylaws and
They have
ticket
a
book,
ticket book, yeah, we issued them a ticket book.
but I don't know if you've seen the counterfoil. So it's going nowhere.
And 4 others.
Yeah. Catch all. Okay, so let's have a motion to receive. And a second. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay. Bylaws. Repeal of the Lions Bay Sewer Parcel Tax Bylaw number 108. The repeal bylaw of 2017 is number 512. The motion is that it be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. We know the antecedents and we know why this is. Pam, is there anything more we need to know before we...
No, it was just basically the report last meeting that I presented, and council asked us to put forward the bylaw, and then we just repeated sort of the bulk of my report, so it was all contained in one area.
Yeah, my only question was, in your report, is it actually relevant that only 6 Kelvin Grove property owners deferred their taxes? I mean, that's the current status, but, you know, that could change next year or in 20 years.
I agreed. It was really just for the perspective that I wanted it to be a known
Currently.
fact currently, that, you know, it would have been an unknown that you can't defer, and if everyone in Kelvin Grove deferred their taxes, that could have influenced your decision. So I just, that's why I put it forward.
Okay, I'm
was
with you. Okay.
That I'm not saying it's only 6, but it is a very low percentage in that area that deferred their taxes.
Very good. Okay, so you have bylaw 512 in front of you. Can I have a motion for adoption? First, second, and third reading.
We made that mistake in my very first council meeting.
Yeah. Thanks, and a second. Any further discussion? So all in favor? Opposed? That carries. And then similarly, but it's not so fast. Please explain to us, Peter, what this number, this second one is, the secondary
Yeah.
suite surcharge bylaw. Or maybe
So-
it's Pam, right?
Did you want me to
Sort of a
start?
combination, sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Basically, the intent of the bylaw was just to allow us the authority to tax the surcharge, which was 40% of the utility bill, and that was always the intent. But because at that time, the sewer utility fees were on the property tax bill, when they actually listed what was charged, it was water, and it was just solid waste. And that was something we corrected last year. We moved the sewer utility fee off the property tax bill and put it on the utility bill. So we just needed to tweak the wording. So we're not changing the intent. The intent was always that it would be 40% of the utility billing. It's just the utility billing didn't include sewer until last year. So it's really just changing the wording so it's very clear. It's 40% of the utilities, which I believe when they introduced the secondary suite charges, or allowing secondary suites, that was the intent.
Yeah. So my question is, why do we not just amend 442?
Well, that's what I set out to do to begin with, but when I just saw it was kind of messy and had a section which was definitely definitions, but it wasn't separated, it was in an awkward spot, and then notwithstanding that they gave some definitions, they repeated the whole wording ad hoc or ad infinitum regarding immediate family members over again instead of just using the definition. So I just had a lot of markings all over, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a new one, so it was easier.
Well, you could amend the old one by replacing it wholesale, really, but
By what?
replacing it completely.
That's what we're doing.
But
So we're
new
repealing
bylaw.
442.
Okay, as long as we don't increase the number of bylaws, I'm fine with it.
No, we're removing the old one and replacing it with this one, which is better worded and more succinct.
So, not having
Same
studied the
intent.
other one in any great detail, do I read section 7 to say that if you have a suite and don't report it, you're in violation of something?
Yes.
When remitting annual village utility charges, everybody does that. All property owners must certify, good wording,
Yep.
whether they have a secondary suite. And if you don't, you're in violation of this $2,000 fine.
Maximum 10, yeah.
And that's set in the fees bylaw.
No, that would be going to court.
That's a
Yeah.
lawsuit. Okay.
So it's also designated under the Bylaw Notice Enforcement Act, and I don't remember what the penalty is under that.
Okay.
So that would probably be our first avenue for.
I mean, ultimately, I'm going to speak to Peter about this separately, just for your edification. We'll talk about this on Tuesday, but I'd like to just get some nods around the table. I'm less interested in the pecuniary aspects of the secondary suite charges and surcharges, or in the sort of the punishment aspects of not doing it. What I'm interested in is the safety inspection part. That's what I really want to know. Do we stand, now allowing secondary suites officially, do we stand any burden of inspection to say that even though you haven't told us you have one, if your house burns down because your secondary suite was poorly done and you didn't have 4 foot high windowsill that something could jump out of, and so they died of smoke inhalation, are we in any way on the hook if they didn't tell us about their secondary suite?
If they didn't tell us and we haven't inspected it, then I would say no. If
There's not
they
a
did
burden
tell
on
us-
us to go and
if they
find
did tell
out.
us and we go and we inspect and we say, you must do these things for safety reasons, even though you're not going to comply with the building code, at least do these things, and they don't do them, then
They're
it
non-compliant.
starts. Then we start getting into different issues and
Yeah,
different
but then we-
questions,
then
which we
at
need
least
to
we
follow
know.
up on. So.
I mean, so the idea is, it's quite easy to start tracking this down because secondary suites that are rented to non-family members have to be advertised. And they're usually advertised on the notice board or in the paper. And so I would suggest that within 2 years, and putting up a hotline, a tip line, not to rat out your neighbors, but to make sure that these places are inspected, we'd get a complete list very quickly. Do we want to do that? What do we think?
But then people say no.
No what?
I'm renting, I have a boarder. They're not,
What do you mean a board?
A free border?
no, I'm renting a room, not a suite.
Well, no, secondary suite's very, very well defined. So it's understood what a secondary suite is rather than a room. Yeah, I don't want to get into the big brother thing, but I do want, having just gone through this exercise myself, I'm only too grateful that my secondary suite was inspected. It happened to be compliant except for the CO monitor, the linked CO monitor, but
In the parking.
yeah, but that's not a safety issue. So, okay, I see some approximate notes, so we'll talk about it over time, what we want to do about it. Okay, so I think I now understand why we're doing this. Anybody else? What's so funny?
Thank you.
Going to do.
What's that?
Approximate knots?
The approximate nod.
Okay, write that down.
Yeah. I have a question. On page 49 of 70, you've got definitions, number 3 in this bylaw. And you go down to number 4, and there's no title of severance. Should there be, or it's in reference to a portion of the thing be severed if it's found invalid? Like, there's no headings.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Drop the headings. They didn't have headings before. There was no heading called definitions either, or repeal, but
But what's a section? It's any sentence, maybe.
but headings are not actually part of the
Yeah.
interpretation of a bylaw, but they're there for assistance, convenience, more or less. But you're right. I think I had actually intended to add a couple more.
Yeah, you normally see these things saying headings are provided for convenience only, not part, blah, blah, blah. But that's not,
So,
I mean, I could say a section is anything we see, say is a section.
perhaps you'd like to make a motion that staff add headings where appropriate, and then give it three readings.
Or could we,
Or sorry, are we doing first and second?
We're
Or
gonna do
Three.
Second,
I've got
third.
three
or
here.
second and third?
could we do all 3 readings subject to the inclusion of headings?
Well, you would say let's we need to make the amendment now, and then you give it 3 readings as amended.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I tried to say.
Yeah.
So what would the amendment be?
So we'll have
What headings would you put where?
Yeah.
severance over paragraph 4.
Oh, I see, I thought that was definitions.
Contains a,
See, I read this thing as definitions, and then these are the items that fall under definitions. And I don't
Yeah,
know-
there's 4 is severance, and then 5 is general provisions,
yeah,
Yes.
I could just put general over 5,
and then that's it.
and then we could be done.
Yeah.
Although we could say, no, I don't want to say offenses.
Although now that I'm looking at this, what is a municipal ticket information in section 9? Maybe-
That's something that Lions Bay doesn't actually use at this point in time, but it doesn't hurt.
Is there
anything to
such a
have there.
noun, a municipal ticket information?
Yeah, there is. MTI for sure.
MTI?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's an actual thing?
Yeah.
Now we remember.
Yeah. Learning something every day.
bylaw course.
So with the additions of headings over paragraphs 4 and 5 being severance and general, respectively, are you?
You satisfied with that amendment? Friendly amendment? Okay, good. So, thanks. Fred, will you make the motion?
Sure, as he says.
Okay, good, thanks. I don't know if that's strictly Robert's rules, but it's good enough for our purposes. Second? And any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Good stuff. Correspondence. Ron, this is your favorite part of the day because you can speed things up.
There we go. Number 1, North Shore Neighborhood Speed Reduction Forum, which is on Thursday in North Vancouver. I'm going to suggest no response in that or attendance unless there's an interest by someone here as we deal with our own speeding issues through the mayor. Nothing more to say on that. G2, the Leadership Forum, which is 1st to 3rd in Richmond. I don't see a lot of value here given the mayor's earlier statements, and I think he's the one that's in contact with the Metroites if he needs something done. So seems like a fascinating 3-dayer, but I think his time is spent somewhere else, and mine isn't going to be there.
Excuse me, with the LGLA, would this be something Eileen would benefit attending, seeing as she hasn't gotten the LGL anything?
That's a good idea. Although, this particular one has a theme: communication, listening, connecting, leading.
Well, and I guess on that one, just to quote just two sentences, Eileen, you make the call on this, drawing from the wisdom of such notice balls as Han Komsky and the Dalai Lama to explore the analysis and comprehensive views. It sounds a little touchy-feely to me, Fred.
Brief, did I say that?
You missed that one. So, when you have your lotus petals for lunch,
Well, we can leave this
There
one
you go.
afloat if you like. Eileen, do you want to just take a look at it, see if you're interested?
Yes, I shall, but I don't think I am.
Okay, it's on February 3rd, 1st to 3rd, so
First to
that's
third.
sort of soon.
she needs
Yes.
some dough if we're going.
Oh, just a sec.
I think it's within
I've-
council's budget, so we don't need we can just draw on it, right?
Is that fine? Done. Okay, so Eileen, it's yours. You do
It's
what
in
you
your
want.
bailiwick if you wish to do it.
There you go. And if the Dalai Lama's there.
No, he won't be going. They're just quoting him. And Noam Chomsky.
There you go. Anyhow, SBA Communications Canada, which is already in hand, unless Nye reverses his field from earlier. SBA Communications.
We're on it, yeah.
We're on
Okay.
done. Case closed. So dealing with easy ones first on the residents, which is the residents at Brunswick Beach, which is this culvert that attracts water, ergo ice, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna suggest that the CAO or Public Works respond to these folks. And if it's a budget issue, which I haven't seen it come forward yet,
Where are you? Sorry, Ron.
R3, which is
Page what?
69 and 70.
page 69 of
Oh,
70.
sorry. Okay, you're starting backwards.
Oh,
Yes, you are.
all right.
To
Keeping
make
us
sure
on
you're
our
awake here,
toes.
There's
Yeah,
no-
I forget that he does the important stuff backwards.
So, let's recap the suggested solution that the CAO or Public Works respond to the writer, who can then deal with the group, and if it's a priority, it can come back again in a different format. Or it's a hard no and you deal with it now.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the owner at 25 was advised that he's building in a floodplain. Built the property. It did flood. Was then asked to put in a sump pump with no outlet. Public Works denied the installation of a pipe across the roadway, primarily because it sets precedents for allowing multiple pipes across the roadway. If it freezes, who's responsible? If there's damage to the road, who's responsible? I don't see this as a village cost. I see this as a developer cost. And I'm working with the owner, who is out of town until the end of this week, to remediate the problem.
Can we ask that staff contact the writer of the letter to give them a quick skinny on that then?
Absolutely.
And they'll go-
Well, this is everybody, right?
It's everybody, yes.
Well,
So this was sent by one person, though, presumably.
sent by one person who can then communicate the official village.
So what is the
Yeah.
official village position here?
Staff working with owner to remediate.
Okay.
Done.
Is
at
that
owner's-
fair?
At owner's cost.
That's not something that council will regret not stepping up and doing something about?
Ideally, prior to the building of this property, we would have recommended an engineering study to look at drainage. And how
French
they-
drain or something, yeah.
Yeah, French drain wouldn't have worked, but yeah.
The owner was advised that the property floods
By
Yeah.
him.
by the
But-
building inspector.
Yeah.
And advised to build a crawl space and advised to put in a sump pump. And
There had not been a house on the property before?
it was renovated, I believe,
Yeah.
and raised. So it's, the current situation is not a happy one for the owner either. The basement's flooded, so, because water has nowhere to go. So the owner's working with staff, and, everybody's drainage on their own property is their responsibility. And a certain methodology was attempted to begin with. wasn't the recommended methodology, and it hasn't worked. So now the owner is going to have to try something different, and is working with the public works manager to.
But
come
is
up
this
with the
in
right
any way
solution.
our responsibility? Because the points that are made here are actually all quite good ones. So let me just ask, the one that's most important to me is compromise the septic fields. Through no fault of their own, the neighbors' septic fields are getting saturated, causing all kinds of hassles.
The water that's on that property is water that's been there forever. It's always there. So there's no
Oh,
additional
yes.
water.
It's not more because there's a house.
No, it's just that they've dug a sump and it's collecting the water, right? There's the amount of water on that property has not changed.
In fact, it's probably less because of the sump. And I presume the water table is pretty close.
Yes, that's the challenge in that whole area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My concern is somebody, maybe it's 25, whomever, has written this letter and taken it to everybody, not telling everybody that we worked with the person before the house was renovated or whatever was done to it, and we suggested certain things, which they didn't do. I would like whatever letter goes out, personally, to go to everyone to explain why we're not saying, yes, we'll fix it. And not that it's just, terrible council who won't spend the money.
Yeah, and why aren't we? So just remind us, why do we not want to put a drain across the road? A sort of municipal scope drain?
A municipal, it's capital funding. We would have to do an estimate. However, I caution the cost is going to be quite steep because the avenue to the beach is a hill that it would have to cross.
Or go through.
And in order to get gravity drainage without having to install a pump, it will be quite deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You
a
could be
municipality
looking-
provides drainage on street drainage, right?
Not everywhere. There are areas in West Van that do not have drainage, and each individual property is responsible. So when it comes time to develop, they're required to hire a geotech to suss out the drainage. And if the residence is prone to flooding, then they're not allowed to put in a basement. So each property is assessed and reviewed individually.
It seems to me that there's more than just the one property at issue here. It seems to me that you've got water coming, you're in a low area to start with. You've got water that comes from the higher homes around there down into that area. If it starts flooding, you get a significant flood situation. It's in the village's best interest to have some sort of drainage down that'll deal with it without causing hardship.
My cursory review shows that it's a single property, and the drainage, the saturation that's occurring is that the water is overflowing the storage tank that they have.
But it would have, even if there hadn't been a storage tank.
Correct, because they built below,
The storage tank's filling up.
yeah, because they built below the recommended,
Yeah.
the building inspector recommended a crawl space, and they chose not to put that in.
They chose a
They chose to
basement
put a sump,
with a basement.
and, yeah, so the water table's very.
So this
very-
goes into a tank that, with the kind of rain and drainage we get, the tank is going to fill up in an hour.
Yeah, it does.
And then where was the water supposed to go out of the tank?
It overflows and floods the neighboring property.
No, but what was the plan? What was supposed to happen
Well,
to the water?
I think the idea was that the storage tank would hold enough, and that it would be released very slowly through
Into the ground.
through a garden drain and whatever else.
Okay, gotcha. And is it true that there's liability for the village with freezing on the road?
The amount of water coming out of that, there has been some ice caused, and we have salted.
But we have no liability per se.
No
We do
more
our
than-
best.
No more, yeah, no more than any normal road.
So
Does
is there?
this-
Sorry, go ahead.
Does the action that you're talking about, having to drill through and drain down to the beach, does that solve the problem completely for everybody?
No,
No?
no. You will always have a drainage problem in that area.
Okay.
Putting in a drain to the beach will not solve the drainage problem. It-
So just fix the.
You're basically providing a large pipe for one resident to pump out to the ocean.
But he's collecting water from all the neighboring property. He just happens to be the low guy.
He happens to be the low guy. He happens to have a sump that's below the water table, so it's continually taking water
Yeah.
from the
The
area.
ocean.
Yeah. So high tide comes in, the water table rises, he floods. Heavy rains, the sump isn't able to carry it, carry the capacity, he floods.
Well, I don't want to dismiss this in a sort of a offhand kind of way, because that won't look good. There's a lot of people signed this thing.
I'm just
All of them
concerned
are
that it's a community issue, and
Yeah.
that no matter how it happened, it did happen.
Correct.
And so if it's a problem with 5 or 6 homes, or whatever the case is down there, then responsibly, something needs to be done. And it may not be a proper burden to put upon the one property owner.
I think the solution is relatively simple. We reverse the previous direction by Public Works, and we allow them to put in a 2-inch pipe from their sump pump across the road, over the hill, onto the beach, and that will solve the situation for them. And it won't allow the water to overflow and flood the neighbors.
It'll certainly address it, but now are we within our rights to put water onto the beach?
As long as it's not chlorine or,
It's just runoff.
yeah, it's just runoff groundwater, so I would say yes.
That sounds to me like a logical solution.
They'll have to pay for that.
That's what my original intent was.
And
yeah.
they'd be trenchless through would they dig up the road?
No, I think we would have to dig up the road.
They would have to do it.
Yeah.
We would do it, we would build it.
I think, yeah, either that or they do it and we inspect it.
Can they drill it?
So, drilling, for the condition of the, if it was a brand new road, I'd say go trenchless. But the cost is quite significant.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to do a 12-inch trench
Yeah.
and a patch.
With our new backhoe.
No, they'll be back.
No,
And the
I-
new got
Like a
it.
compactor,
Yeah.
jumping jack.
I think they should do it. I don't think it's something that we should be
We
doing.
don't have the time now.
Yeah.
Well, I
Because
mean, I
we're
think
saying they are the cause of the problem. It's not a village problem. It's this house
Yeah,
problem.
I would work with the CAO to look at, conditions, what happens if the pipe breaks, what happens if
Yeah.
it freezes, those types of things.
Right.
Well, your spec is
So-
going to have to be fairly stringent. But it is impacting more than just one stubborn property owner who didn't listen to the building inspector. Well,
My understanding is that the water that's overflowing from the tank and coming out of the sump is what's impacting the neighbors. If that's taken away, it goes back to the way it's been for the last 20 or
But
30 years.
where's that? There's no extra water. Where's the extra water come from? It's always been like this.
Groundwater.
It's coming up.
Because of the sump, because the sump is so deep, it's
Penetrated.
collecting all the groundwater in the area. Yeah,
It's like having a little piece of Richmond in Lions Bay.
yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like there's one of our
On that
girls.
Yeah.
happy note, then to get approximate nods from everybody. I think where we left was that the CAO and the Public Works was to respond, expanded for Eileen, that the people that are also the signers past the sender are also responded to. And I think this would be something I'd be interested in seeing, so if I could ask that that's copied to council when it goes out.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to do this in hard copy because unless you want to look up their individual email addresses. Also, don't know what sort of credence you give to people who sign on behalf of their spouse. I mean, these are individual. It's not Matt and Andrea. It's just Andrea. Even though she may speak for her spouse, so it's not a huge amount of people, but
It's doable.
It's enough
Still.
for that area, so I
Okay.
think on that one, we'll close that chapter.
okay, good. So you know what to do there? You need a resolution? I don't think so.
Just responding on our operation.
Yeah, it's operational, right?
The direction will be captured by the catch-all resolution when you finish the correspondence. That the following actions be taken with respect to the correspondence, just like we do with the IRRs.
Item R2, which is also from the resident, this is to do with the snow removal, the bus service, and TransLink in general. And I think the mayor responded quite succinctly to the resident on that. I think to kind of put an end to it, though, I'd ask the CAO to contact the resident just to make sure there's no outstanding issues and to close this piece off. There being no disagreement, we'll move to R1. And this is from resident Mark Fleming to do with the green waste pickup that he did not receive. And I won't, everybody's read his thing, and I would defer, I presume, to the Public Works Manager for a response. Which you may give a heads up on verbally.
So that was the Friday message that went out to all the village. By that time, the resident had already put out his green waste.
We all did.
Correct. The
Truck couldn't make it.
description I got from Smith, right, was that the truck couldn't make it, that was having trouble getting into the village. The supervisor went out with a set of chains for the vehicle. The chains were the wrong size. They decided for safety to turn around and go home.
Well, there was one truck stuck at Ocean Point, sitting there on the side of the road,
Yeah.
down. There's no driver, no anything around, so something had happened
Yeah.
at that point. So whether the truck was having a problem or not,
I don't think it was road access. I think the truck broke down.
yeah,
Okay, that happens.
Yeah.
yeah, it does happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a green waste only, or was certainly the recycling got picked up?
Yeah,
Everything else got
everything else got picked up.
It was just the green waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which of course is not green waste. That's meat waste. So it's
Yeah.
not very pleasant to have around for an extra week.
The
our
only
very
thing I would
smart
add
team.
is that the trucks that pick up the green waste are a lighter duty truck, so they have more difficulty in the snow.
Interestingly, I noticed that my green waste can only gets knocked over by the raccoons on a Thursday night. They know what the day is. They don't even bother the other days of the week. It's quite interesting. Clever.
And that
Clever butter.
concludes correspondence.
So you're going to respond to him?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks. So may I have a motion to adopt is it adopt? Accept? Review?
That the following actions be taken with respect to the correspondence.
As discussed?
As discussed.
Thank you. Peter, I don't know if you're allowed to give a motion, but you did.
Just
second?
reading out what was on the agenda.
Oh, okay. What he said. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. So that's correspondence. New business. Appointment of Eileen to the Emergency Steering Committee. Fred, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that Eileen Wilkie be appointed to become a member of the Emergency Steering Committee, not to displace the mayor, as the mayor is, what's that for?
Ex officio.
Ex officio. I guess that's it.
Thanks. And a second? Thanks. Any further discussion? Anybody needs to know why this is? I think we all understand. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. And also, Eileen's equipment, I have written here. Remind me.
Oh, Eileen's question. Yes, I was
Question.
approached by the playgroup when I was on my way to a meeting the other day. And they have people that come from Kelvin Grove, and it's very dangerous walking along the side of the highway. And they wondered whether we could put up some sort of guard or rail or something. And I said the highway is nothing to do with the village. But they understood there was some sort of right-of-way from Kelvin Grove to Ocean View, and that they would like us to look into clearing so that they could use it. There are children over there who would, as they grow up, like to join our school, and goodness only knows we need them.
Why wouldn't
And
they walk on the low side where the trail's already there?
they're pushing strollers, and what they would really like is one from Upper Kelvin Grove to get over here.
And think there is a, I
Well,
think
what
there
So-
kind of
there
highway's
was
a
for a
death
while.
trap? I
Oh,
mean, it was
absolutely,
initially,
but pushing a stroller, like really walking
That's a
anywhere
huge
is
creek, you
a
don't compete
problem.
with that.
No.
It's dark in the
Would have to be
morning
along
too.
here.
Well, no, it was, at one time there was,
Through
for
here.
the highway renovation, no, there was a sort of a half-assed trail.
Ah, because there's
Yeah,
there's a
because
gate.
There was a, yeah, that's right.
Something to do with this. Well, I don't think there's
It's
any.
just, could we just add that to the list to possibly look into for them?
That may be one of the community amenity contributions made by a developer of the public works yard.
Well,
There was
there's,
something about that. There
there
was
is-
talk in the previous
there-
budget,
there
still
is-
coming up.
there is space there. It's behind the highway wall. Okay, there is space there, but it was not acknowledged during the highway construction.
Well, certainly here on this side, you know, from the cafe to the pit, more or less, there's a very nice path
Well,
behind
that's
the
right,
sound
it's
wall.
on, it's on top, and yeah, that's right.
I don't know well enough how it would fit, but yeah, I mean, clearly, we have an OCP.
There was an issue at the time with the fact that the ground level was high, and that there would need to be some sort of a barrier, or whatever the case is, to stop people from climbing over, or whatever the case was, from the back, and I remember that conversation very well in the minutes of the meetings, but that's why it was never done.
And I understood personally, there was something at the end of Panorama Road.
Well, there
across.
is,
Isn't that
It's
private
on private
property over there?
it's all private property
Is it
behind
property,
it.
there's no right of way
I
there?
don't think so, no, I don't think so.
And they thought there was one from the top of Calvin Grove over to
Panorama,
Ocean View,
yeah.
but anyway, can we just
Because you're
put this to
This.
somebody?
across from the creek,
There is that right away there,
yes.
but it ends at this.
Well, but you have to get across.
Whose big piece of property is this one? That's Joanne, right?
Joanne's up there.
This one here. And whose is
That's
this
where
one?
they'd like to go.
That's this guy right, isn't that, what is it, right here?
Yeah, right here,
Isn't
there's,
that him, isn't that big hut, that big place right there?
No, that's here.
yeah, they got one here, he's got a bridge, a concrete bridge
Yeah.
over the creek,
But this is the right of way here.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
this,
marked.
this one's got no interest in
No.
connecting anything.
Yeah.
We looked into that for finding evacuation routes.
That's
and
right.
it
That's from Panorama Place.
Place, yeah.
Well, I would love to do something about that in the fullness of time because it's an OCP goal to make the village walkable. There's all kinds of good reasons.
And to be able to get the children, the nannies need to
It's
take
a
the
good,
children
it's a
to
worthy,
school.
it is a worthy cause if it can be done.
It's a long way to walk to the school, but not impossible. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of right now to get to Kelvin Grove and Lions Bay, vice versa. You have to drive. That's not cool.
Yes.
You should be able to walk.
And in a fire. I mean, if there's a way through, that would be wonderful.
Haven't you ever
Any-
heard the story from your grandfather? He has to walk 40 miles to school in bare feet to through the bushes and brambles and that. So why are we any
Uphill both
different?
ways.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah,
both
that's
ways,
what
yeah,
I said, uphill
exactly.
both
Well,
ways.
I don't know how. We're certainly not going to be able to do anything about it in the
No,
short term.
Can
No,
we
but
add
it's
it to
certainly-
our, not priority, but maybe looking at the OCP
Well,
or
my
something?
understanding is that you have this way to actually just add IRRs immediately, so you may want to just do
Okay,
that.
maybe I could just do that.
I have to go through hoops.
I think, well, there's a couple of different approaches that I heard we could potentially take. One is that looking at this from the perspective of evacuation plan, whether or not
Yes.
that's something that, so perhaps that's the context in which we can perhaps add it to the emergency plan because we do want to be looking at evacuation plans in any event. So if it can serve two purposes, then that'd be great.
Be perfect.
And other, well, I mean, as you know, the idea to any future development along here would be to make the Centennial Trail walkable and rideable to get to the school, so that anybody who was living in some sort of multifamily here could send the kids to school by bicycle. So a similar idea.
From the
There
other
was,
side. That would be great.
there were conversations at the highway committee about such a trail, but it didn't go anywhere because there was all sorts of issues around Rundle Creek and private property and stuff like that, and so it just sort of died. It wasn't pursued at the time. Not that it couldn't be pursued now, but the thing is that there's all sorts of obstacles in the way, but that doesn't mean that it might not be a bad idea to look at.
Right.
And nothing doable on the south side, Jim? You know, where the trail is now?
On the south side, on the south side, on the other side, you've got
On this
the-
side,
Yeah, on this side, yeah, you've got the trail
But the trail, here
that
it
comes
is.
all the way along there. Yeah.
But that's not
That
stroller.
doesn't-
Oh,
that-
it's
that's-
not, no, that's a hill.
Yeah,
It's a hill, yes, but it also, you couldn't stroller
No,
on it, but you could
no.
fix that. You could at least tar it. Is this too steep?
I think it's too steep.
Let's give them bigger wheels and an outboard.
Escalator.
Escalator would be good.
Okay,
Okay, that's
well,
not-
we're not gonna solve that one today, so no motion or second, but
But we're
it's
gonna
good to get it
refer-
on the map anyway.
you might want to suggest that we may want to talk to the people that were responsible for doing all the trail work and stuff like that in the village, just maybe they've got an opinion about that. The trail
We
committee.
can certainly mention, well, there's no trail committee per se.
No, but the people that were involved
There's John.
may have thought about that, because they would have been involved in anything the highway did at that point in time. They may remember it.
Yeah, I shouldn't say there isn't a trail committee, it's called the Trailblazers.
Trailblazers, yeah.
They do something meaningful like that, but it wouldn't happen right away.
No.
I mean,
No, but it's something that
let's pick a
takes time.
year lead time.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of, I'm gonna guess it's the kind of cool project they'd like. But I mean, they put the human resources to it,
Well,
but then
It's no different than,
a strollerable trail means it's not going to be crushed rock, and how's the crushed rock getting there? Cause,
no different than Trudy's Trail. Okay, where you've got all this stuff coming together, you've got a bridge, you've got all sorts of things going on. And
that's not buggyable.
no, that's not budgetable, but the thing is, it's something the community may want to do, and if something may come up, we may be able to get some sort of donation or somebody to come along and say, okay, we'll do this.
Well,
he
as a
said buggy-
substitute, I mean,
buggyable.
we don't want the residents walking along the side of the road.
No, we don't.
I mean,
That's exactly
I'm
right.
sure
No.
that they would rather handhold their toddler than go through a trail, a nice trail, I mean, these things
Yeah.
are 4 feet wide, that maybe wasn't buggyable, but was certainly walkable. I mean, and that'd be your forerunner to bigger and better things, just like the Centennial Trail.
That was one of the conversations around the trail that was when they realigned the highway and they knocked out our trail. We used to walk from the top of our view all the way down, then they put that one down on the other side of the wall and walk down by the work yard there. And one of the concerns with the way it was originally was that there was animals, there was cougars hiding in the bushes, so now it's all been cleared out and that's been fixed. And so, all those are good reasons to do that, but I don't know.
Well, considering where these guys go out in the frickin' boonies, I mean, this is like going to Palm Springs to.
I don't think it'd be very exciting for them, they don't wanna do it in the urban environment.
It's a tremendous feel-good thing.
Well,
It's also
keep it-
within the
keep it in
village
mind.
limits.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to solve that tomorrow, I don't know how though. That'll be tomorrow's problem. Okay, so no motion, right? Public
No.
questions and comments, seeing none, we'll move to close the council meeting under sections 91
Peter, did you have something in here?
C and E.
C and E. Yeah, no, just
and
he
92B.
needed to change the one of the reasons for closing, and 92B. So can I have a second on that one? Thanks, and all in favor, opposed, carried. So the meeting is now closed. Okay, so we're reporting out from closed session at 9:45, and one item to report out that in various closed meetings heretofore, council has discussed the notion of closing the road between 51 and 53 Brunswick Beach Road with a view to its sale. Council instructed staff to bring forward road closure bylaw, the process for which will include a public consultation process and other statutory requirements. And that concludes the reporting out from the closed meeting, and I'll now take a motion for adjournment. Thanks, in a second. All in favor, opposed, carried. Meeting closed at 46 past.